Welcome to True House Stories. I am Lenny Fontana coming out of New York City, New York. And today I have a special guest who I've known a very, very long time and seen him come up through the great graces of some other great house producers. And he has made a humongous mark in this music industry. Okay. He has a couple of sounds that you can tell it's him. There's the electronic side of him. There's the soulful house sound of him. And then there's this cool Latino tracking thing that he does that we all love. So as a DJ myself, I've supported tons of his records, and he's changed the game in many ways. And the thing is, we were speaking off camera is staying in the game and staying relevant and never leaving it. And keep pushing the meter to as far as you can go. This man's name is Harry Romero.
What's up, Lenny?
Harry Choo Choo Romero.
That's quite a description. Thank you very much. I'm beyond flattered.
It's the truth. I tell everybody, I would never say it unless I believe in it, and I say it because I care.
Thank you, Lenny. It's a pleasure to be here too, man. I've been watching the True House Stories since its inception, a couple of years now. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
You're welcome. And and let me tell you, like I asked you when I sent you the message, would you want to do? You said, hell yeah. And I said, you deserve it. You work for that. You work for this.
Thanks.
So before I get started, how are you? Everything good? Are you traveling constantly? You're back in the game. You're pounding away, aren't you?
I'm here, man. I'm here. I'm in the studio now. When I'm not in the studio, I'm with my wife and my kids. When I'm not doing that, I'm on the road. This weekend, I'm playing in for this really cool festival called Clockstock, which is...
Oh, yes, I know Clockstock, yeah.
Yeah, it's like adult people going out to actually dance. So it's a lot of fun. I've done a couple shows for them, and I'm looking forward to getting back overseas. For a lot of us in this game, London is a very, very, very important and special place. So it's my spiritual home in Europe for sure. So I'm happy to be back.
Me too. I'm on my way Friday, everybody. I'll see you in Cardiff. I'm in Cardiff at La America.
Nice.
Competition to you guys at Clockstock. There's so many people to go around. That's what I love about England. Those things you'll hear, such and such is playing over here, such and such is playing over there. It's crazy, but
yeah. England's dope, man. Love it.
I love England. I always felt with New York in its own way, but not New York.
And England is also one of those places like when you spend some time hopping around Europe. For some reason, when you get back to London, you feel like you're home. It's like, oh, oof, that was cool, but now I'm home. You're not home because I don't live in London, but it's, you know what I'm saying? It's that familiar place, and you make so many friends through the years, and you meet so many cool people. So, yeah, looking forward to going there. And
Clockstock, everybody, get to that. Where is that Clockstock being held again?
I can tell you right now.
Is it Kelmy something or?
Hold on. If you want, I can actually tell you. Clockstock. Let me go to my thing here. But yep, looking forward to it. It's the 25th. It's in Chelmsford City.
Chelmsford City, everyone. Check out
Chelmsford City Racecourse.
Check out Harry Romero at that Clockstock.
And I'll be playing new stuff, old stuff, unreleased stuff, special edits and stuff like that. They kind of have a basic music policy, or they want stuff from the 90s and the 2000s. But I always try and keep it current as well. So,
all right, everyone, get to business now. We got commercial over. We paid our sponsors. Now, as I ask everyone, and I'm going to ask you, how does music find the young Choo Choo Harry Romero, young baby, the young kid?
Baby, I mean,
not baby,
well, it kind of all starts, and I always say this, and there's no sense of changing it because it's the truth. It's the original person that really got me into music was my father. My father is a record collector. he's the one that had the stereo system that no kid could touch. Don't go near it. Don't even breathe near it. You know, it was his pride and joy. And the thing with my father is that he listened to everything from salsa to cumbia to merengue to jazz to everything you can imagine. Frank Sinatra, all kinds of stuff. So he's very eclectic in his musical taste. And I'm one of three. I'm the youngest of three. It's myself, my sister Gina, my brother Sheldon. So he would, on Sundays, he would play music and nobody really wanted to hang out with him. But me, I was always intrigued by it. And he'd play the music and he'd tell me who wrote it, country of origin, when it came out. And I would just hang out with him on Sundays and listen to music. So that to me kind of, I feel like those were the early seed plantings of my taste in music, you know, variety. I didn't see music as a kid, you know, I didn't see it as like, oh, this belongs in this box, no, it was just music and it was all different kinds of stuff. So that's when I was a kid. And then as, let's say we approach 82, 83, I'm about 9, 10 years old, is when I discovered hip hop, groups like Run DMC. And that was kind of what got me into modern music, was the early hip hop experience, the stuff coming out like Houdini, like Run DMC. Those groups is what really grabbed me. And then after that, and I know I'm moving fast, but then was Latin freestyle. So, you know, I become a teenager, you get into girls, you start going to parties, this and that, and freestyle is a popular music in our culture. Latinos, that was our shit. You know what I'm saying? It was Latin hip hop. That was our shit. So, you know, a lot of tracks had Spanish lyrics and Spanish producers, Puerto Rican singers or whatever. So we kind of that was our own shit. So we were really excited. We didn't know at the time. It was just dope ass music. You know what I mean?
All those After Dark Burials, Juan Quisquione Cato. No,
Yeah.
you have so many names from that era. I remember Louis Vega.
Louis, information society, right? People don't know, you know?
I talk about that all the time. Remember when he did it?
Yeah. So it went from my father to hip hop to freestyle. And then for me, the bridge between hip hop and house music is freestyle for me. Now I've had this conversation with other people and they agree. Like I've spoke to Hector Romero about it. So that's kind of what brought us to house music, was freestyle. It's very weird how that happened. So then when we're DJing, I started DJing real young, 14 years old, whatever, doing parties here and there. So in those parties, we had to play hip hop, we had to play reggae, we had to play freestyle, house, and some, you know, classics, some new wave stuff in the mix, this and that. So when I heard freestyle, I loved it. Then I heard Todd Terry, and then it's a fucking rap from there, dude. Todd is my guy. He's my point person. He's my
party people.
Because that stuff was being played in the freestyle parties.
He did the Giggles record too, right?
Right. Love Letters. Yeah. So, you know, and he did all the choral stuff as well, you know, all the good stuff from choral. So that freestyle was the bridge that got me to house music via Todd Terry. So then I discovered Todd Terry. Then I start realizing he's sampling all these Chicago people. So I look at the Chicago stuff, the stuff on, I don't know, Tracks and Dance Mania and DJ International, you know, whatever the labels were at the time. And then I discovered Chicago House, and I discovered, you know, Fingers Inc. and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of my introduction into house music, was that. Now, as far as going out and experiencing the music, I'm not a garage guy. I'm too young. And even if I was of age, my parents would not let me jump on a train and go to Manhattan to hear anybody, for that matter. So my experience in clubbing was the Sound Factory Bar Wednesday nights with Louis Vega. That's my Paradise Garage. That's my, you know, loft, if you will. And that's when I remember the first time I walked in that place, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? And the music that I knew that I was buying at the record stores and this and that, then you look over, you see Kenny Dope laughing with Todd Terry and Louis. And this was back when the booth was way up. I don't know. You remember that, right?
Well, let me clarify, everybody, to the older crew that's listening to this. Private Eyes was the club Sound Factory bar became later. So Marsha Stern's in the chat. She remember this. And Private Eyes had the booth high up. And with that crazy club, they used to have the turntables stacked. It was the most stupid setup. So when Phil Smith got in there, they changed it and they made a proper booth. And you're talking about later on with Underground Network. Yes, Sound Factory bar, Underground Network, and Louis Vega.
I always equate it, and I've never done drugs, but I'm assuming that once you do a shot of, a bang of whatever it is, people banging their arms, it's chasing that high. So my career, I can honestly say the best way to describe it is chasing that high of what you heard and your body felt and trying to recreate that experience through music. It's very interesting. And I've only come to realize that is through the years and thinking back. It's like I'm constantly just trying to, like, for example, that track Night at the Black. The Black is an imaginary club in my brain. So it was a night at this imaginary club where, the guitars and this and that, it's a real kind of weird fucking thing, bro. It's hard to describe. But I guess the point of the story is that in going to Sound Factory and hearing Louis and hearing him play the Nervous track for the first time and just saying, what on earth is going on here? And it's just, not only did your ears hear it, your body felt it, because the sound system was pretty good in that place too. So my career has always been trying to recreate how I felt at that time. And what I can tell you is I've been very unsuccessful in trying to recreate it, which is why I'm still here.
I'm sorry for laughing when you said I'm very unsuccessful. I'm like, why? Why do
it's a blessing that I've been unsuccessful.
Because you're still trying to reach that high?
I'm still trying to reach that damn high, bro. And it's like, I've come to understand that that's part of my creative process, and I embrace it. When you're younger, you're a little more, how can I say it, easily swayed. You don't have the balls. You don't have you don't have the time in the chair that comes with experience. It would be a problem. Like, why can't I this? Why can't no? And you trying to make this sound like Todd Terry, and you trying to make this sound like Masters at Work. You trying to make this sound like Derek Carter. Guess what? You just developed your own way of your own sound. So I've embraced that as part of who I am, as part of the creative process. 100%.
Okay, so
that's a lot.
Do you have musical training?
No, negative. My musical training has all been from sitting shoulder to shoulder with other people. Again, part of my story is Erick Morillo. We'll get to that
piece. Yep.
Yeah. Sitting next to one of my close friends, Jose Nuñez, sitting next to a music great like a Dave Darlington, sitting shoulder to shoulder with on hand training. I learned how to mix from watching Dave Darlington mix. And part of my sound is how I mix. So I owe a lot to people that I just mentioned. I don't have any musical training. If you tell me play it in C minor, I could find C minor on the keyboard, but I have my ears. I trust my ears a lot. And I also know when I can't do something and I'll outsource, you know what I mean? But I don't have any musical training per se. But I have a lot of fucking training.
No, you have technical training too. You also understand the whole technical end of making a record.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So let's start with that. Okay, so you go from the freestyle era to house music.
Yeah.
You go to Sound Factory. Now, when you go to Sound Factory Bar, were you making records yet, or you weren't? So what were you doing at that time? What was
I was a DJ that wanted to go hear who the hell was making all these, Saint Etienne, Only Love Can Break Your Heart. Who the hell's making? What is this? Like, I love it. I play it.
Like nobody around you telling you what was going on. You would just
no. Bro, I'm a little Colombian kid smack in the middle of New Jersey. I went to Zanzibar, but I don't claim I'm a Tony Humphries dude. No, because again, are my parents going to let a 16, 17-year-old kid go to freaking Newark in the 80s? Hell no, they're not going to let me go. So, you know, I was sheltered, but I was constantly always trying to find out, to hear, to investigate. I mean, it took me 7 years to get my undergrad from Rutgers University because I'd screw off and go to the record store, which was Planet X right down the street from where I had class. And you know, I started DJing already, so it's like, okay, do you go take your history, your art history final, or do you go to LA and play? I was going to LA to DJ. You know what I mean? So I didn't have those. I sought my influences. You understand what I'm saying?
So you're telling me you had no Google to Google or any of that stuff to go find out who's making this record, right?
Explain. If I tell you that in college, I'll never forget this, and I tell the story to my kids, and they think I'm nuts.
Tell us.
Listen, it was one of those big, you know, theater kind of classes where whatever they call it. It's an auditorium, right? So the guy gets on the mic. He's like, "Listen, for this class, you're going to need an email." This and I'm like, "Email? The hell is email?" I don't need this class. Email. What the hell is this?
Exactly what I said. What is an email? Right.
So that goes to show you how, if you wanted to know something, you had to go lift up the rocks. You have to go open the box. You have to go look. You have to seek. You know, so that's kind of where I come from. And ironically enough, I think that the first time I went to Sound Factory Bar was obviously because I knew Louis was DJing. I'm a huge fan of Louis since, you know, 87, 88, whatever. And one of the guys that wanted me to go was a dancer. He said, "Yo, come." I'm like, "All right, fuck it, let's go." So we went, and then that's when I experienced the first hit of the crack pipe, so to speak.
And that's like they say, don't take that crack pipe because you may never come back off it.
Well, I'm still on it, bro. The musical crack pipe.
But you know what I hear from people over the years with me? Now I'll share this. They say to me, "You still got the same enthusiasm." I said, "Yeah, because I love the music."
100%. It comes down to the love of the music, the love of the craft. And although I do have my college education, I heard somebody explain this before. It's like, once you get a plan B, it's a wrap. You can't have a plan B. You also have to have realistic goals and realistic dreams, right? There's something called a pipe dream. Back to the pipe. But like, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Yeah, I'm going to produce an album and I'm going to get 5 Grammys next year." That's a pipe dream. But we still have a lot to say musically. There's still a lot of things that I want to explore.
I don't know why I came to. Sorry. Go ahead.
There's still a lot of things I want to explore on the artistic side and pushing the sound, the barriers of sound, and just, you know, personal goals I have for myself.
Sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Yo, Lenny, what up? It's Harry. What are you doing?
Hey, I'm okay. I don't know why it's coming through. It shouldn't be coming through. Sorry, everybody. I have it on Do Not Disturb. It's still coming through. I'm like, what is... all right.
Put on airplane mode.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I'm going to do right now, actually. Done.
I shut the damn thing off. Goodbye. So we were saying, I'm sorry. So back to where you were again. If I remember correctly, I asked that question about Sound Factory Bar and Louis, okay, and your parents. And I can understand your parents being concerned. And I've talked about this in my own life. Back in the 80s, the drugs were so bad in New York City. Times Square that's where I got my first identification card, people, at Playland. So I go out to the clubs with a fake ID. But here I had my cousin's ID. I gave him his license because in those days they didn't have the pictures on it. So I can understand what you're saying about a religious family that says, "You ain't going to New York City. You know, you're not going there."
My parents left New York City. They're like, "You're not going there."
Garbage to bring me to a better life, and you're coming back.
Yeah, no. They put a kibosh on that real quick.
But yet, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. So that you know you can't go, you got to say to yourself, "I got somehow to find my way over that water or under that water."
Yeah, under for me, yeah. Yeah. And you know what's funny is like a lot of guys, their points of reference are things that I never experienced. again, going back to the Loft, going back to Paradise Garage, I'll be honest with you, and I have no shame in saying this. I never heard Junior Vasquez DJ in my life.
To this day, still?
To this day, I've never heard him DJ.
Wow.
Right? And that sounds crazy as hell from someone that grew up 30 minutes from Manhattan, right? I never heard him play. But you know what? I'm not saying it would have been a bad thing. It would have been a great thing because I would have loved to experience it. But it's kind of, how can I put this? I have my own influences, right? And they're not the obvious ones.
So now tell us who they are.
Well, my dad.
Okay, yeah, we gave your father number one.
Yeah, my influences, again, it starts with Todd. And I tell Todd all the time, it's your fault. We'll bump into each other in like Athens airport, tired as I'm like, Todd, this is all your fault. So definitely my biggest influence is musically, as far as house music, Todd, Kenny Louie, Derek Carter, Mood to Swing, Lemon John. Off the top of my head, those are the ones that really spoke to me. And the drums, man. I'm a drum guy. Like, if you listen to all my music, it's all based on drums. And they're not like, let's just throw in a kick, a hi-hat, and a snare or a clap. My drums speak like music. So the music is really just filling in the gaps that the drums couldn't fill in. It's very interesting how I approach my music production. But those are my main influences, 100%.
Okay, so now let's talk about the first record you make.
Okay, the first one I got signed?
Well, the first record you make to get you over the line of being a DJ and getting you into this production world.
All right, so it's a little fuzzy, and I say this because when I
a couple of beers when you're doing it?
No. It's just time has made it fuzzy, right? So at the time, do you remember you would do the rounds, right? You'd go to Nervous, you'd go to Strictly, you go to Emotive, whatever. And that day I made the rounds and I saw Gladys and then I saw DJ Duke at Power Music, Sex Mania. Remember those labels?
Yep.
All right. Gladys picked up one of them, which is a track called Urban Turban for Strictly Rhythm. The artist was Sulfuric. That's before, the guys,
Brian and Mark.
Brian and Mark, yeah. And then I signed two other ones. I forgot the names of them. One was on Sex Mania. The other one was on Power Music. I signed those 3 tracks. I came home with $4,500 in checks. Mind you, I was 20 years old. I'm like, I'm fucking loaded. I thought it was rich because I made no money.
Rich are rich.
Yeah, man. So it's fuzzy to know which one was first, but I think release-wise, the first one was Urban Turban on Strictly Rhythm. What's up, Gladys? Hope you're watching.
Gladys Pizarro gets the first. She. I tell you, that girl discovered more of the house producers than anybody else I know.
She is the queen of all this, man. And I
old records and all. Keep going.
She doesn't get enough accolades, but yeah. So it was those things, and I distinctly remember this. I was in my old pickup truck with my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, Jessica Eve Romero. And we were driving somewhere down here in Jersey on like Route 35 or whatever. And remember Glenn Frisha? Glenn Frisha is another one that doesn't get enough accolades. He broke so many records, man. So many records, he doesn't get the props. What's up, Glenn Frisha? Big love. So anyway, we're driving and my song comes on, Urban Turban, on the radio. I will never forget it.
On Hot 97?
Whatever station he was doing the live mix on.
Hot 97 at that time.
I think it was Hot 97, yeah. And I remember pulling over and I look at my girlfriend, which is now my mom, like, can you believe this? And, we were all happy, excited. That was the first sign of, the God, universe, whatever the hell they call it nowadays, is saying, you know what? There's something here that you can do. There's something, you have something to say in this genre. And, the history speaks for itself. I've been able to to acquire an amazing discography. I've been collaborated with some amazing people and this and that. But that was really the beginning. That was when I said I could do something with this. And that feeling was very important, and I still keep it in high regard to this day. I'll never forget it. I mean, how do you always remember the first time you hear something on the radio? At least I do. Right?
Hell yeah. Here's the next question I'm going to ask you. Did you do those records all by yourself? Or were you know, and also the curve in those days of learning all this gear, were you already, did you have somebody muse you, like show you some pointers, and then you figured it out yourself, or were you around some?
Well, I kind of had Jose Nuñez. We fed off each other. Now, those records I did all by myself, but the beauty of it was I didn't know how to mix. They were all done. I would literally go to a studio in Hackensack that me and Jose were part of, and I just go there with my sampler, and I think I would actually go with my computer too. My whole freaking studio. I'd take it up there. We'd put it up on an old Tascam 2524 mixing board, and he would mix because he went.
Please search for part 2 of this podcast on the platform you're watching or listening to. And please do not forget to follow us.